and we will get started. So, welcome everybody to today's session, Digital Detox with Tea, with our host, Adam Yasmin. My name is Jennifer Norman. I'm the founder of the Human Beauty Movement, also known as the HBM. The HBM is all about radical self love, radical self acceptance, and radical self expression. We know that beauty is an inside job, and mind, body, soul well being is what we are all about. So I'm so honored to introduce you to our host, Adam Yasmin. Adam is a former UX designer turned digital wellness coach. He is a strong advocate of slow tech as a means to wellness. And he's also an aficionado of Chinese tea culture and a loving dad. So welcome, Adam. Welcome to everybody. Adam, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Jen, and to the Human Beauty Movement. And thanks to everyone for being here. Here we are. Here we are. It's a new year. And with a new year comes new possibilities, new opportunities to engage in modes of self-care. So as you arrive, feel free to, have your camera on or off, or microphone on or off, depending on whatever level of comfort you're happy with. This is going to be kind of a free-flowing session. Imagine it's just like a big virtual tea table, and we're all just here, coming as we are. And it's absolutely perfect that you present yourself the way you are. Everybody's tea is going to look a little bit different. Everybody's tastes and preferences are going to be different, which is also what makes society a wonderful thing. So I would like to take this opportunity, just as we start, to just have a drop in. So you can hold your mug if that's comfortable for you, or you could place it on the table or on the surface in front of you and just have an arriving check-in. If it's comfortable to close your eyes, feel free to do so. I recommend that you have your feet maybe firmly on the ground. If you're seated on a chair, perhaps you're sitting cross-legged, or on a meditation cushion, wherever you are, just really kind of anchor into your body. And as you arrive into the session, just focus on your breath. Let's focus on our breath. Let's take a few deep breaths together. And I like doing that by inhaling through the nose and exhaling through my mouth or my nose, either way. And one of the purposes of checking in like this is really just to inquire within myself, like, how am I feeling as I arrive into this session? How am I feeling in my body? If I can notice how I'm breathing, maybe you can notice your heart rate, or if you have any tension in your body, or perhaps if you feel like your shoulders are relaxed, or if you're sitting with some back support, just kind of feel what it feels like to be in your body right now. You don't have to do anything else, but just breathe. Just be here. And as you start to notice yourself breathing, perhaps you can elongate those breaths. Maybe you can draw in a slower inhale. Maybe you can pause when you've reached that inhale. And maybe you can draw out the exhale for a few more seconds. And as you're noticing yourself breathing and slowing down your breath and your exhale, Maybe you can notice some of the sounds around you, or notice some of the smells around you. Perhaps you notice the smell of your tea or the room that you're in. Maybe you have a window open. You can hear the sounds outside. Maybe there are birds chirping, cars driving by. Or if it's quiet enough, maybe you can hear your heartbeat. Let's take 3 more breaths together, and then we'll come back into the session. And as you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes and come back into the session, into the Zoom call with everyone. And as you do that, try and notice 3 things around you. 3 things. Could be colors, shapes, textures, forms. Could be the mug in front of you or the table or the very screen itself. Just notice 3 things. First thing I notice is just how immediate the feeling of the slowing down of time is, even in this shared Zoom call experience. So thank you for joining me on that drop in. If you'd like to share what that was like for you, you can do so in the chat. You're also welcome to unmute yourself, unmute the microphone and chime in. It's really a free form, open table space. It's also, I'm going to change the way I'm viewing the screen. So if anyone feels like raising their hand, I may not be noticing that. Instantly calming. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's a skill that we always have access to wherever we may be, though getting there, we'd have to get out of our own way to do so. And so sometimes that can be intimidating or challenging at times. But in the work that I've done, both in tech as a designer and now in the realm of coaching fellow designers or fellow technologists on how to embrace more, humane strategies and principles and a tech life balance. It always surprises me that as people, as humans, as mammals, we do need to take breaks. We do need to, as often or as effective as we can, to drop in, to engage in a pattern interrupt, to have a state change. So this is one of my favorite ways to do so, and I'm so glad that you're all joining me for this. So I'm just going to read up a couple more messages. Helps me feel safe, especially with others, as I am just meeting. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So the purpose of this session is to have a tea break, and how tea breaks can be a really great bridge into taking a screen break or a digital detox or a phone free break or even a social media break. And to take half a step back, just to double down on that, it is important to engage in breaks with our devices, with our tech, because as powerful and as useful as the tech is, we did not evolve to be on it all the time, having all the information or consuming all the information or opinions or news or memes or everything that we have gotten accustomed to doing. It's not normal. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. This is a judgment-free space, but it's just important to posit to you, to everyone here, as you're arriving here and sitting together. It's important to engage in whatever kind of self-reflection practice or process that you can, especially when it comes to relating to our devices. So I'm also going to put a fork in the road here and say that in a future session that I would like for you to join me on in the next week and in the following months, there will be more of a focus on digital habits and digital well-being, or well-being when it comes to our devices or tech life balance, and strategies and tips and resources on how to engage in that together. But let's drink some tea. So what I'm doing here that I love to share with people, and I have been sharing as a lifelong student and ambassador of tea culture. I've been a student of Chinese tea culture for almost 15 years. Started in San Francisco. I'm from Los Angeles. And in the beginning, this time, beginning of the year, in 2010, I started sharing tea. This specific methodology and technology of tea, it is Southeast Chinese. It's called Gong Fucha, which loosely translates to tea with effort. And the implication is that time, reverence, dedication, and practice, and awareness and subtlety will together in concert can produce a profound tea experience. I relate to Gong Fu style brewing as the most analog way of brewing tea. And again, it's not a better versus a worse. If you're here with a mug, this is not this is not a you should be doing this and not that. This is just what I like to share with people, and I look forward to hearing about what what you chose and what you brought and how it impacts you, and where it impacts you in your day. But just to give you some context, so Gong Fu style brewing, it originates from Fujian province, Southeast China. It does have a really long history, a really long tradition. It is rooted in Zen Buddhism, but even further down the root system, it's actually rooted, it's a Taoist practice. And so tea began as a medicine, and then it grew into a beverage. Let's just put it that way. There are a lot of amazing resources and books and play and sort of areas of knowledge you can absorb at your own pace when it comes to tea. And so I just want to give you a really brief, a little bit of a demo. And through the demo, I'll explain why engaging in this practice and this daily ritual for me is my digital detox of choice when it comes to, looking for a tea break, or just again, I know it's a bit of a funny, ironic paradox that we're on screens together while we're engaging in this. But again, the point is that we're in this together and we're not scrolling or consuming or being pelted by information from all these different angles. So here is my kettle. I use a gooseneck kettle because it gives me a lot of precision pouring. Coffee aficionados know what I'm talking about as well. So every time I start my tea session, I warm everything up first to kind of get to a clean slate, a tabula rasa, if you will. This is actually a really old form of teapot. It's called a gaiwan, and a gaiwan is essentially a wide brimmed open mouth cup with a lid. So I poured the water in, and I was able to just tilt the lid so that there was an opening here between lid and the cup, and then I can decant out. And from the pot, I go into this, which is the fairness pitcher. The traditional name is a Gong Dao Bei. It's a decanter. And so from there, you engage in the sequential step by step process. So I am just cleaning all the teaware, heating it up first, to get it to a clean slate. And again, the idea here is I'm heating all the teaware up first so that I'm preparing the tea to, I'm preparing the pot to receive the tea so that the ambient temperature between the water and the pot itself will be in unison. I'm drinking some pu'er tea. Pu'er is it is an intentionally aged and fermented tea from Yunnan in southwest China, which is the birthplace of tea as we know it. Pu'er tea is oftentimes pressed into these shapes, wrapped in rice paper that are ideal for aging. It's really one of the only teas that have that feature. It puts it in this sort of echelon of um, of experiences like wines and spirits, like whiskeys or cigars. Things that require age. Hope the construction sounds outside are not too disruptive. I know I'm a rather soft-spoken person, but so I'm going to put my tea into my gaiwan, and then I do a really quick ceremonial rinse, just a matter of seconds. The whole idea here is that the rinsing of the leaf is part of the tradition. It's called waking the leaf. So I then toss it. I have a big bowl over here that it's like a waste bowl that I'll then lovingly give back to the plants and the trees that are outside of the soil. So the idea of the ceremonial rinse is waking the leaf. It's that because pu'er is Camellia sinensis. It's the tea leaf. Camellia sinensis being the tea leaf, sort of the mother tea leaf. That when you process Camellia sinensis in different ways, you get white, green, oolong, black, and pu'er. You get the main types of tea as we know it. Again, not herbal teas, not tisanes, not turmeric and chamomile and mint and all the other types. We've turned the word tea into a verb. That's a modern day thing. But and it's traditionally tea is Camellia sinensis is the plant. So by rinsing the leaf, I am allowing the leaf to just start to unfurl, to wake up, to stretch before steeping for drinking. I'm also rinsing off any energetic stagnation from aging or from transport. It's kind of like when you go out to the market or the farmer's market and you buy your veggies, you're going to come home and cook a soup or make a dish or something, and you're going to wash and prep your vegetables before you cook and eat them. It's the same principle here. Also because Camellia sinensis has caffeine, right? Green and oolong and black and pu'er teas, they have some caffeine. So by doing that ceremonial rinse, even if it's just 3 seconds long, I'm rinsing off about 50% of the caffeine that I don't really want to have, because the idea with a tea like this is that it provides a calm awareness or a calm alertness. The idea is that I'm going to be rooting my body and having my mind be lucid and alert instead of having the heart rate roller coaster that we're so often acquainted with doses of caffeine. So that is my brief intro about the methodology and the style of tea. Again, there's a lot more information. I don't want to be inundating you with a lot of information, but just want to give you a kind of just a how-to really quickly. These are quick recursive steeps. That the idea is that you steep a tea out over successive steeps instead of one concentrated dose. And again, the idea there is to slow the process down, to constantly stay dropped in and aware of what's going on. Again, I go back to that metaphor. It's like driving stick shift. It's a really analog experience. By utilizing these tools that are fragile and ephemeral and delicate, and there's only one of these that I don't have any more. I don't know where to get it again. These things are they don't last forever. Again, just like in nature, right? Really wabi sabi, it's sort of embracing the perfection of imperfection, the transience, and the fact that things don't last forever. So quick steeps from Gaiwan into the fairness pitcher, into the cup, and then from cup to lips. And so from that sequential step of kettle to pot to decanter to cup, it's just bringing me in. It's engaging all of my senses. There's smells, there's colors, there's touch, there's textures. It is a very sensual experience. And again, I'm not saying that in an erotic or sexual way. It's really just about engaging. It's engaging in eros. It's engaging in the senses. And so those are the basics. I wish I could be pouring all of you a cup right now. Perhaps in some future opportunity, we could all do so. But cheers to everyone. Again, thank you for being here. Please feel free to ask questions or to pop on and share. What are you drinking? Why are you here? What does it mean for you to be here? What does it mean for you to take breaks within your workday? What does a screen-free break look like to you? Are you drinking tea or coffee or broth or water or juice or anything? You know, as much as you'd like this to be a social experience, I totally welcome that as well. I'm just going to go back to the chat to see if I can. Cool information. Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. The Tao sees me back. Absolutely. The Tao. Yeah, it is really, for me, it's all about the Tao or the way. Really, the Tao is the way. And so it's a constant coming back to this. And even after 15 years of engaging in this practice, it's never the same experience twice. I never try and recreate the same experience. It's always going to be new. Earl Grey oolong. That sounds awesome. Oh, these are beautiful messages. Oh yeah, thanks, Nicholas, for letting me know you're in Granada. If anyone else wants to share where you're chiming in from, that'd be fantastic. Beautiful. Everything is temporary. So special to be present in each moment. Agreed, agreed. NorCal, Granada. I'm gonna switch my view into gallery. So sorry. But again, you don't have to turn your camera on if you don't feel like it. If it's not your prerogative, that's totally okay. Michigan, fellow LA over here. Thanks, Jen. We got morning coffee and then we're going to switch to tea. Absolutely. I I came to Human Beauty Movement to offer these community sessions, especially as it pertains to tea, um, because even though I've been practicing it for a long time and doing it in a really social nature, I would do it at events, team building events, or everything from it being a bit, you know, a mindfulness module for corporate wellness or for fellow technologists, or for private events like weddings and just intentional social gatherings. But making intentional space for tea during, let's say, lockdown was one of the more challenging and yet profound experiences that I had, because my lockdown experience was demarcated by almost a fear of missing out of important information. I needed to be aware of what's going on. I needed to know if there was a spike in cases or where to get a test, or just being on all the time. And so really turning to back to tea again, even after years of a practice, was super humbling, and really nourishing, because it was an opportunity uh, to really drop in, to almost bring the forest into the home, to bring to allow for the senses to be engaged. Because a lot of 2020 here in Los Angeles in particular was also difficult to go outside because we had a really raging fire season. So, and I have a daughter who is 7 now. She was 4 or 5 at the time. And so half of 2020 was just an inability to even go outside to a playground or a park because of hazardous air quality, which was a super humbling experience. And so again, I kept turning to tea as a way to just bring nature inside, to bring the elements inside the house, and to uh, use all of my senses and all of my limbs, most importantly both of my hands, in this process. Because if I had a mug, I could hold a mug and do this. So that's what I didn't. Again, it's not, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. It's just something I was trying to go for as an experience. And that's why bringing to you in this session the opportunity and the possibility for a tea break or a coffee break, to present it as a mindful moment or a mindful meal, even within sort of the practice of engaging in digital well-being, is to intentionally schedule that time to I'm just going to focus on this one thing. I'm just going to enjoy this one bowl of soup, or this one cup of coffee, or this one glass of water, or this piece of amazing chocolate or something. But just to really focus on that and nothing else, for 1 minute or for 15 minutes or for 30 minutes if you can. Again, the beauty in this style, this technology, this methodology of tea brewing is that for me, it can last 30, 60 minutes, 2 hours. If I'm pouring for a group of 12 people, could last 3 hours. It's a really slowing down, getting really granular kind of an experience.
Adam, I have a question.
Yes.
Hello, thank you for sharing. When you do this practice, are you pouring, are you continuously kind of brewing a little bit and pouring it in and then taking sips? Or are you brewing and then kind of mixing it? Like, is the goal, like, what is, besides the mindfulness?
Yeah, so great. It's a great question, and there are times where I've presented this in other calls, and it looks like a kind of a magic trick. It's like, where is all this coming from? How is it so endless? So thank you for asking that question. So imagine this style of brewing. It's like it's what we know about what are movies. Movies are moving pictures. Each steep is a picture. So I go from the kettle into the teapot, and I'm steeping for 10, 20, 30, no more than 60 seconds. I don't like long steeps because for me, a longer steep means a heavier mouthfeel and a bit more bitterness. Personally, that's my palate. So then I decant into the decanter, and then it's just wet leaf. There's no more water in there. So now this is in stasis. Now I have a reservoir of tea to drink from. So I can sit there and pour into my cup and then slurp, and I can go through this. Again, there's no rush. There's no getting from A to Z. There's no destination, and there's no really point of origin. There's really just making space. I feel like I speak in a lot of metaphors, so forgive me if I get a bit kind of philosophical about it, but just to directly answer your question, that this methodology is founded on quick and recursive steeps. So this way, depending on the tea, depending on the vitality or the character of the tea, this is a pu'er that's, I don't know, I'd say maybe 2 years aged. I've had pu'ers that are 25 and 30 years aged. Again, we're going into that realm of wines and terroir and spirits or whiskeys or aged stuff that it's like a drinkable antique. You really want to take your time with it. And because the tea has been sitting and meditating for 25 years, it can take, you know, maybe 24 steeps to really kind of go through the whole movie, right? From still to still. So that's kind of a more of a technical answer to your question, but I hope that it answers it. But
It
I'm
does, but
yeah.
it actually brings up another question. When you said that when you pour it out, there's no water. So I kind of do something similar, but it's just because I'm being lazy. But I usually put a little hot water in the tea leaves that's sitting on my counter while I
Yeah.
walk away with my tea.
Yeah.
Should I leave it not in water? Is it better, like you're saying, you know, it's in stasis? Or if I'm leaving it in water, is it doing something?
So
Maybe I don't know.
this style of brewing is unique to these tools, to
Mhm.
this style of tea. When it comes to bagged tea, and mugs or other teapots that you can just decant into your mug, I would really just say, you know, your body is your laboratory, and just to experiment with a shorter steep or a longer steep.
Okay.
Experiment with doing, you can do that ceremonial rinse. If you have a bag of, let's say, Earl Grey or oolong Earl Grey, you know, something that's going to have a dose of caffeine in order to get us energized for the day, or get us over that afternoon hump or something. I would say try a 3 second rinse. You know, just pour it in, wait 3 seconds, toss it out in your sink,
Mhm.
and then steep it again and see if you could see what a 1 minute or a 2 minute or 5 minutes. Again, you know, we are creatures of habit, so we fall into these routines and habits,
Yeah.
and those habits can be upgraded and molded and changed and transformed over time. So when it comes to these teas, like I showed you those little nuggets, little tiny bricks that the tea came in, that they were pressed in those shapes, and now it's just this, it looks like a pile of seaweed or a pile of wet compost. The leaves have unfurled. I've done at least, I don't know, 3 or 4 steeps now. Now they're just unfurled, and so from each steep after that, they're just gonna, you know, keep unfurling, and it's still dark. And so, you know, here I am pouring to brew, and you know, people use timers. People like using tools to get an exact result, and that's cool too. I'm a bit more woo-woo with my style, but for me, it's like, you know, a few breaths. Let's say that works out to, I don't know, 30 seconds or something. And then I'll decant, and then I'll drink from that. But right now it's still brewing, and I'm gonna tilt my lid and then decant into the fairness pitcher. And as you can see, it's, you know, it's still quite dark. If I let it steep longer, it'd be as dark as an espresso, you know. That's just the nature and the characteristics that are unique to the sea. Now the leaves are just there. Again, they're wet, but there's no water in there, and now it's just back in stasis, ready for the next brew. So again, the whole idea here being, it's such an intensely analog experience. I'm controlling all as many variables as I think I am, but I'm also open to getting lost in a texture or a color or the feeling of this tea ware in my hand, or getting a stroke of inspiration, or, oh, I was thinking about this thing, and now that I've had the space to just sit and do nothing, suddenly inspiration strikes. And so I'm gonna I hope that answered your question. Go back to these chats. Yes, thank you, Nicholas. China and Japan share with the south of Spain, absolutely. And the history of how China gifted tea to Japan is also a really interesting history. There's a book called The Book of Tea, which was written by a Japanese economist named Okakura Kakuzo. If you look up The Book of Tea, just Google search, you'll find quotes and copies of the book. You don't have to remember the gentleman's name, but it'll be there. Amazing read on, again, Japanese tea culture, how it was gifted from China, from Buddhist monks from China, brought tea plants over with them, and how that was around, I don't know, maybe 12 or 1300 AD, and then how Japan made tea their own thing, distinct from Chinese tea culture. And tea is a global, right? It's tea, like the story of tea is the story of sort of modern globalization. Tea is the second most drunk beverage in the world after water. It's like every culture, every continent, every country, celebrates tea in their own way. But the fact that it's a way to gather together, to not work, but just like we're sitting and having a cup or cups of tea, that's super special. I'm always humbled by that fact. Cool, great playlist. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, what are you? I want to be respectful of our time. I know we have maybe 10 to 15 minutes left. I feel like I'm going to be transparent with you. I am an introvert by nature. And so tea is my one sort of mode to be like even slightly extroverted or gregarious. And so I don't want to be talking so much. I want to be hearing and also listening and reflecting back to you. So
Adam, I appreciate everything you shared with us, and tea has become very special for me, especially like hosting events and going to festivals, right? More conscious style festivals where it's more about these one-on-one interactions of becoming present with ourselves and our feelings, our emotions, and allowing this to be that tool. So I applaud you in finding this as a tool. Do you set up at any festivals that we'd be familiar with, or do you have plans that you'll be going to that we could come find you at?
That's a great question. So from 2010 to becoming a parent in 2015, I was doing a lot of festivals here in the SoCal area, like Lightning in a Bottle and other local LA festivals, a lot of Burning Man scenes as well. The whole festival experience is such a great fertile ground to have tea experiences, because you're sort of outside of the bounds. You're not constricted by time and schedules and productivity. So I miss that, and I'm also trying to really be hyper present to what's actually happening. Obviously, due to pandemic, there were opportunities to do a lot of virtual tea, and this is one of them. Some where we could have a more synchronous experience, where I could, let's say for a team building session, I would mail out teas and bowls, or maybe they have a tool that they like to use, but we would be drinking the same tea at the same time and sharing what that experience was like, together, even through the construct of like a Zoom session, which is also really cool. And now that in this new year, I do feel called to do more festivals or to do conferences or intentional gatherings or retreats. I'm actually right now, putting my antenna out for fellow facilitators and hosts to do more I'd say screen-free retreats, something that incorporates movement, tea, conversation, ideas, togetherness. That's been something that I personally have been seeking out. So if you stay in touch with me, I'll definitely be able to tell you, where or when the next opportunity would be.
How can I stay in touch with you?
Through socials, if you'd like. I'm on Instagram.
Could you put your tag in there? Because I'd love to
Sure.
follow you. And
Yeah,
I think I know some people who create these types of retreats and stay in connection with you.
it'd be
Cool.
lovely.
I love that. And the idea of these intimate gatherings where we have these on the human beauty movement, to me, are special because it does give us the opportunity to get to know each other on a more personal level and then take it further, off the Zoom, off the screen. And I love how when Adam is doing his tea ceremony and his ritual, there was a word that came to mind, and that word was respect. I feel like he has such respect for the process and respect for the tea and respect for the time that it takes to do this. And I'm thinking about how to build more of that into my daily life. And it is about mindfulness. It is about just respecting, and rather than just doom scrolling, even, the time that I do intend to spend on a screen or spend with social, it's like, let me know that I'm in control of the situation and the experience, and I can walk away. And I think that that's where the digital detox aspect comes in, and what Adam teaches, which is so important about reducing that overwhelm and anxiety that so many people feel, because we're not built to constantly look at screens and to have all this media shot at us all the time. And so being able to take his experience in UX as a former designer, and realizing the detriment that was happening to us as a human race by being so attached and becoming so addicted to our screens, is important. And these analog moments where we can just take time out for ourselves to enjoy what's right in front of us is so special. And I'm really just happy that we were able to do this all together.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I enjoy my tea, but I've been trying to be more intentional with it. So this was really nice, and it was nice to see that I kind of follow a similar kind of pattern in my own way. And I think seeing this is helpful because I can just do some tweaks and really add a lot more mindfulness and respect to it, and just slow down. So this is really nice. I've been trying to do a practice of thinking whatever I'm eating or drinking, but I think this will really slow it down, I think, and make it feel more special. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have actually one other question. Can you spell out what the brewing style is?
Yeah, I'm going to write it down right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and there's probably a billion videos. I haven't made any like instructional videos. It's actually there's in the breezes, there's a little nuggets of inspiration. So maybe that's one of my projects moving forward.
That might be
just to
nice.
make these. Yeah. I've been so focused on presenting it like in an in-person thing that just while we're here, it's a good reminder to be a better ambassador, and to be a translator, and to actually focus on getting it translated into maybe in a series of instructional videos. I think I was always feeling like, oh, there's so many people who already do that. Why would I add more noise to that kind of an experience? But I think
I don't feel like there's that many people doing this. It's
when
pretty
you're it's
special
a
when I get to meet them.
yeah, it's a very Alice in Wonderland kind of
Yeah.
a community. And so I was like, well, I'm at the tea party, and so there's Alice and the Mad Hatter and the Cheshire Cat. Like I'm there, I'm in that world all the time. So I just forget that there's a much larger world where people don't really know. And so it's a good reminder. So thank you for
Yeah.
helping me remind me.
And Nico, he left, but he's really like really into tea. And I sat with him at LIB this last year in the coolest tea lounge I've ever sat in. And that's pretty much where we hung out most of the time. It was like, all right, let's meet at the tea lounge. We'd sit down and like make friends. And it was just really special. And I'm really into the art of henna. So henna is like my tool to become present with people and to
Mm,
sit with people. And yeah, I've fallen in love with the tea and the process of tea and being present with it and like the many little cups, right?
yeah,
Keep conversations going and
it's it's like tending a fire.
yeah.
It's
And
just
it's like
it's
respecting the medicine and like
mm,
realizing the herbs and the quality and how good it is for the body and the heart.
mm, absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons that I'm obsessed with pu'er is, for its health benefits. I mean, just the very fact that it's a fermented thing. It's a live, it's like it's a living thing essentially in that
Mhm.
regard. And so, um,
Do
because
you
it's
do this brewing
fermented, there's
process? Sorry, go ahead.
what's that?
Sorry, I thought you were done. Sorry.
No. I feel like I'm mumbling, so I wanted to answer a
Do you do
question.
this process only with this kind of tea, or do you do it with other teas?
Great question. I do it with some other teas as well, even some herbal teas. There is a Thai herbal tea, I'm going to spell it out, called Gynostemma.
Hmm.
Um, the traditional name, although you probably won't see it written like this, is called Jiaogulan, but you'll see Gynostemma. There is a herbalist name. Let me grab one really quickly. I know we have like a minute left, so grab one and show you. I don't want to type it out.
I think I have heard of gynostemma or gergolan before. Have you guys?
I have
Yeah.
not.
I have
No?
not.
So,
Oh.
so if you go online and you go to there's a gentleman named Ron Teagarden. Ron Teagarden's Dragon Herbs. If you type Ron Teagarden or you type Dragon Herbs, here, I'll just type this out. Ron Teagarden. This is a great sort of gateway into Gynostemma tea. That's how he spells tea garden. Ron Teagarden, Dragon Herbs.
He used to
This is a
have
guy.
a shop in the yoga studio that I went to in
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. He may still have a tea bar, or he may have gone just fully online, just because so many brick and mortars just could not survive lockdown and pandemic. But a great gateway into Gynostemma tea is through, because this is like an adaptogenic. So Gynostemma is an adaptogenic herb. I've at times I've had whole leaf Gynostemma that I brewed in this Gong Fu style. That was also really cool. Sometimes you can make a concoction of, let's say, rose hips and hibiscus and whatever else. It's again, all of it is it's an experiment. It's a laboratory. It's a space to play and to discover aspects about yourself and other people. And so you could try different teas, but definitely pu'er, oolong, black teas, or what in China they refer to as red tea. They refer to black tea as red tea because of the hue of the tea liquor after you brew it. Green teas, white teas. Yeah, it's traditionally those teas are brewed in this style, but it's not exclusive. It's like the style isn't exclusive to those teas. So just to say that.
That's perfect. I have all this tea that I went on a buying spree and then got overwhelmed and kind of put it away for a bit. And it's like, no, I want to do it again. And so this is really great. So
Yeah.
thank you again very much.
Hi. I
Thank
take
you.
it back too. Thank you, Adam.
Nice
Thank
meeting you.
Thank you, everyone.